Thank you, sir. So what was your relationship like with Sensei Ed Parker? I mean, how did obviously I remember like when you moved from you were in university, I think was it Joplin, Missouri, and then you moved out to
Yes.
LA. Could you please tell us a little bit
Right.
more about that, please, Sensei?
Sure. I'd love to. So that was after I was studying Japanese Goju-Ryu, which I mentioned that's how I met Ed Parker, was through Lou Angel. So I graduated in the summer of 1983, sold my car to pay for the U-Haul to move out to California to study Kenpo, never thinking I would be a personal student of Ed Parker, of course. But I moved out there because that's where he lived. And that's where Angel said the best martial artist in the world is Ed Parker. And if you want to make martial arts your life, move out there and study from him. He wrote me a letter of introduction. I moved out there. Ironically, I wound up there just 2 weeks before the very famous world championship, karate championship that Ed Parker had every year in Long Beach, California.
Oh, yeah.
So I went there, I bowed to him, and I handed him this letter. And of course, he's looking at me very strange. Read the letter, and he said, "Oh my gosh, you're from my old friend Lou Angel." And he hugged me, and he gave me his home phone number. And he said, "Give me 2 weeks to get done with this tournament. Call me, and I'll get you set up, and we'll get started." So, I mean, think of that. He never saw me before. He never met me. He didn't even know I was coming. And he gave me his home phone number the first time he met me. It was extraordinary. And then that began my journey. So in the summer of 1983, I walked in the door at Kenpo and totally, completely blown away. What an amazing martial art this is. And then I got to know him personally. And then in the summer of 1983, 2 years later, he asked me to no longer go to the West Los Angeles school and start coming every week to his house to learn with 3 other people.
Oh,
So right there, you can imagine. I mean, a guy like Ed Parker says, "Don't go to my school, go to my house." I mean, other than "yes, sir," what are you going to say? I mean, it was a tremendous
yeah, I
opportunity.
can imagine.
And so I went every week to his house for 3.5 years. I learned the entire system of Kenpo directly from him. Then that ended with going into the movie The Perfect Weapon, which brought us even closer. So this was his dream come true on a whopping scale. I mean, Paramount was then and probably still is now the biggest production company in the world.
Yeah.
Gave us complete control over the choreography of all the fight scenes. And then ironically, when we were done filming, Paramount even gave me the final edit
Wow.
of all the fight scenes in the movie. And I had never done anything before. So you can imagine. I was never in an editing bay before. It's crazy, right? And they
It's
gave
a
me
good
that
kind.
authority, and it was
Yeah.
amazing. It was
Yeah.
surreal.
It was a good kind
Really.
of crazy. It was a good kind of crazy.
A good kind of crazy is the right way to put it.
Yeah. So how did you get into acting? Because I know, like, I remember one of the funny things you said in that interview was because, without a shadow of a doubt, it's one of the best interviews I've ever seen. I mean, I've been a fan of yours for years. I've been a fan of Scott Adkins for many years as well. I remember one of the funny things you said in there when in LA when you say, "What do you do? I'm an actor." Okay, so what restaurant do you work at?
Right. That is the joke. I mean, it
Yeah.
is the game.
Yeah.
But I studied acting 5 years before I did Perfect Weapon.
Okay.
Because someone who brought their kid into the West LA studio where I was teaching saw me doing Kenpo and teaching Kenpo, and she was in the movie business and kept coming up to me and saying, "You got to study acting and take what you do, because this is I just have never seen this before." And I was like, "Nah, I don't want to get into that world. It's full of nutbags and crazies and all that." And then since I never did it before, where do I start? You're in this gigantic city, which is all about the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
And here you are
Yeah.
from Joplin, Missouri, wanting to break in. I mean, who the heck are you is the thing. So she contacted a reputable acting school and got me in a meeting with them. They allowed me to come in and watch. And as soon as I did that, and ironically, I mean, you mentioned Van Damme.
Yeah.
During that very same week that I went and watched this acting class, Van Damme's first movie came out. So I went, okay,
Bloodsport.
I'm going to go see, yeah, Bloodsport. So I said, okay, I'm going to go see this new guy and think of doing this acting thing. So I did that. And when I watched that movie, I walked out going, man, if they like that, wait till you see Kenpo.
Yes, I got you to say that on the show. I'm sorry,
Yeah, that,
I'm sorry, I had to geek out a little bit there because I can remember. Again, I'm just remembering this as well, and because I see where you were coming from in that, because I totally agree with what you said. Was I mean, even though, like I said, I've been a fan of Jean Claude for many, many years, and I still am. And you're right. He had more of a kickboxing background and as well as
right,
Shotokan karate background, whereas you wanted to bring
right,
you wanted to bring a real martial art onto the screen. I mean, you've
exactly,
kind of done the same thing what Seagal did at the time as well, where he brought
exactly,
Aikido onto the screen, and nobody had ever seen that. And regardless of what
right,
people may think of Steven Seagal, but he was just something groundbreaking when he first came out with the movie Above the Law, and what in England it's
right.
called Nico. And but you did the exact
Yes.
same thing as well. When I saw that when I saw Perfect Weapon, especially the trailer for the first time, I was like, "What the heck is this guy doing? This guy's next level." And then bless my father, may you rest in peace. And I said, "Dad, you got to come here and watch this." He goes, "What is it?" Comes inside, he watched it, he goes, all right, the movie's on next week because they were showing it on TV at the time. And the trailer this is
Ah,
coming out at this time on this channel. I mean,
ah,
me and my dad, we were just watching. We just both geeked out together. It's one of those best times we had where we were bonding, and it was always over martial arts movies because my dad, he loved the Karate Kid. He was a fan of Van Damme. He became a fan of you as well. So yeah, you go. You've a bigger fan base as well, Sensei. And
wonderful, wonderful.
speaking of Van Damme, you were actually in one of his movies, wasn't you? You were in
Yeah,
Lionheart in England. It's called
right,
AWOL.
right,
I can
right,
I
right.
can remember your voice in the background going, "Miss Caldera, the house would like to see you by your unspoken marker." And he's like, and
Right.
they were like, "Make sure she doesn't leave. She's heading towards the gate now." So,
Yeah. And you know what's interesting about that is why was I in that movie? And of course did no martial
oh
arts or
please
anything.
tell us.
Because when you, and this is for anybody who wants to do movies, and really get into it, first you got to move to LA.
Yeah,
And then the second thing is after you've had enough acting experience, then you can start going out on auditions. Just don't go before your acting coach tells you that you're ready.
yeah.
Because the one thing you don't want to do is go into audition and make a fool of yourself, because then those people will never ask you back again. But if you come out and you can really perform in an audition, then even if you don't get the job, they'll keep your name and they'll say, okay, let's ask him back for something else. But anyway, one of the things you can do as an actor in LA is you volunteer to a casting director to be the reader in one of their casting sessions. So you're the actor that sits at the table, and every actor comes in and out to audition, but they're acting with you.
Oh yeah.
Now, the key thing is when they're done and they leave the room, now as an actor, I get to listen to the director and producer, which tells you what they liked, what they didn't like. So if you use that as a learning experience, then when I go into auditions, I go, I know what they're looking for now
Good
because
move. Good
I was
move.
there.
Yeah.
And what you get out of that is you don't get paid, you maybe get lunch, but you're in there 8 or 10 hours a day for many, many days. But what they'll do is they'll give you a few lines in the movie.
Oh yeah.
And that's how I got into Van Damme. No one knew that I knew martial arts back then. Nobody.
Yeah. So did
Because I wanted to prove I could get work as an actor independent of the martial arts.
yeah.
And that's a very, very different statement than coming up and trying to sell yourself as a martial artist who wants to do movies. If you can go to somebody, which I did with Paramount, obviously, I was able to show I had been hired on a few different things. So you have a reel with your acting stuff on it. And then they read your resume and they go, okay, he's been studying acting for 3, 4, 5 years and he's done this and this and this. Then they'll go, okay, let's have a look. And that's the point. When somebody in an important position, this is true of anything in
Yeah,
life,
it's fine.
when they go, okay, here's your chance. Have a look. You'd better deliver, or else you're not going to get another chance.
Oh yeah, that's true. It's one of
So
those
that's why you've got to be ready. You've got to be ready before you go in.
definitely. It's one of those make or break moments, isn't it?
That's it. You got it exactly. And I'm sure everybody's heard all the stories about Hollywood and how ruthless it is and
Yeah.
how cold it is and how unforgiving it is. And let me tell you, it's every bit of that times 10.
Wow.
it is a very rough place in a lot of ways. And then let's just say, like in this case, as you know, I got my start with the perfect weapon. Okay, so a 1 out of 10 million chance I made it. And I'm there. As soon as you make it, now everybody that wants to meet you, that wants to be your friend, only wants to be your friend because you can get them in your next movie.
That's true. I 100% agree
And
with that.
that's a real problem. So how do you go through life not ever knowing if somebody's really your friend or not, or whether they love you or not, or whether they're in a relationship with you because of who you are, the content of your character, or is it because of the money you make or the opportunity that they may have to be in one of your movies? You just don't know.
No, you don't.
And you never know. And it's a real problem because this is what destroys a lot of actors. You know, they go in there and they work hard and they make it, and all of a sudden they're in there, and then everybody wants a piece of your hide.
Nice.
You
No, no,
know,
you're
they want to
absolutely
control you. So
you're absolutely right. It happens to a lot of actors, whether it's in England,
it does.
whether it's in the US. It's because of the fact that they don't
Right.
want to be friends with you personally. They want to be friends with
Right.
what you know. Basically, they want to be friends with you, making contacts to get to contacts and everything. It's just
Yeah.
how it goes like
That's
that, and it's wrong
that's it.
because at the end of the day, that actor has worked so hard to get somewhere, and then he's had doors. The person's had doors slammed in their face, and all of a sudden it's, yeah, okay, I was your friend all the time, but where were you when I needed help? You were nowhere.
Right.
Now
Right.
you want my
That's it.
help to
That's
help you. Go, no, go by, goodbye, go away. I don't need
right.
you
Right.
don't need that nonsense. And like I said, staying on Van Damme, did you get to meet him when you did
Yeah.
Lionheart?
Yeah. You know, I was on the set at the same time he was,
Yeah,
but I don't think I ever walked up and shook his hand or anything because you want to leave people to do their job.
true,
You know, when you're on a movie set, it's 10, 12, 14 hours a day, 6 days a week. And when you're pulling the lead in a film,
true.
it is an enormous amount of, the only person who has more responsibility than that is the director.
That is true. Yeah,
That is a huge amount of response. So that's also part of why you're considered to being hired on the set again, is because you behave correctly. You know, they
true.
call it set etiquette. So you're not looking to go up to somebody and ask for their autograph and you're just there to do your job and to make everything go smooth. And they will recognize that and they'll remember that.
That is true. I mean, I've done acting myself before. It's mainly been a lot of theatre work, and it's I've done some extras in movie work as well. And it's one thing. It is true. I agree with. You don't go there thinking, oh, why so and so, who's just an extra, going to the main actor to talk about how do I do this, how do I do that, how do you get this agent? Can I have the contact number of your agent? I mean,
Right.
it's good to
Yeah.
go on set and then make connections with the other extras because you're on the same level. But to go to the person who's just there to do their craft, and it is a long, strenuous job. You are working. We were working
It is.
sometimes 12 hours a day, and then you go home, you collapse, you get up the next morning, you're back at it again. I mean, it must have been really
Right.
difficult for yourself when you did the Perfect Weapon because that was your first movie, and nobody had ever
Yes.
no one ever saw Kenpo before. No one even knew who you were.
Right.
And I remember
Right.
the trailer when I was watching it again this morning. I was like, I can't believe this is actually happening for me. And again, I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart.
Oh,
And my whole team
my
thanks
pleasure.
you as well, to tell you the truth. And I guess if my father,
Thank you.
my father, if he was still here, may he rest in peace. I think he'd probably say thank you to as well. Thanks for making my son's dream come
Ah,
true.
Great.
So thank you again,
Great.
Sensei
No,
Speakman.
that's wonderful that you do that. I just want to take a second and say it's just speaks so well of you
Oh,
to remember your father in that loving way. And so he obviously was a good man because you wouldn't be saying these kind of things if he wasn't.
thank you, sir.
So I really love that because you know before we began we spoke about the cancer that I had and I was very close to death myself. And so anyone who goes through what I went through, you recognize the tentativeness of life. And what under the best of circumstances, are we going to be 80? Are we going to be 100? I don't know. You know, with AI and medical and what's happening, well,
Yeah.
maybe 120 or something. But you know, right now in this is 2025, and in November I'll be 68.
No way.
So yeah, I'll be 68.
No
Yeah, but and when
way.
I was 55, I had the cancer when I was 55. So you learn the hard
You
way
do.
that, you know, you come out of something like that and every day is precious. You want to be with the right partner. I'm married to the most extraordinary woman. We have the most wonderful, loving relationship. And I get to live every day the rest of my life, however long that is, in her love and in her care, which of course I reciprocate with the same. But when you look at life as precious as that, and which is what you're doing every time you say how grateful you are to your father, those are such important things. We have to remember that we're here for such a short time, and all the stuff that most of the people think is so important, like money and cars
Yeah,
and the house you live in, and all of that, it just doesn't matter unless you have the content of character to lead and to be a problem solver and to make life better before you die. And that's really the lesson you learn when you go through something that I went through.
yeah, no,
It's tentative and it's difficult. And we're all going to transition to the other side.
I agree.
And not to the unknown, but to the unknowable. You'll find out what it is once you're there.
That's
you know.
true. That is true.
But
Yeah,
the point is to live a good life and make sure that you're dedicated to the well being of other people, not just yourself.
I agree with that, Sensei. I totally do.